Good evening, viewers, and welcome to the Art with World. I am your host, Arshad Waheed. Today we have a very distinguished guest with us, Tabinda Chinoy, who is a painter and sculptor. Welcome to our show, Tabinda. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I was attending your inauguration of this exhibition, which is Through the Veil of Dreams, and a lot of people came here and they showed a lot of interest in your work and paintings and discussed various things about it. I have read the book on you, which is about you and your work, and it is very detailed account of your art journey, your achievements. But since you are with us, I would like to hear from you about your interest, your art journey. How did you get interested in paintings, and what inspired you more to become a painter and then later a sculptor?
Yes, it actually started when I was a very young girl. My father was in the UN, and we were in Rome, and there, my father would take me to various museums because there's so much art and culture in Italy. So, and at that age, I was about 13 or 14 years old. So, my mother would like going shopping and having lunches, and so I preferred to go with her. But my father said, "No, I think you come with me, and next time you go with her, and then you come with me. Let's take you to these places. I'll explain about art, about culture, and see the beauty in the." I mean, there's so much to see. So I said, all right, and so I used to go, and then I started getting an interest in it myself. So sometimes I'd tell my father that, let's go. So he said, oh, that's quite a change. So that's how it started. And then in school also, I'd gone to school in different countries, and some were the American International School or the British School. And some of these schools, they have a subject like art, painting. So I always used to take that. And so that's how I would just dabble in color. Very childish stuff. But obviously one's interest started growing. And much later, once I had graduated from college, I told my father. He said that, would you like to do your master's, or what would you like to do? I said, I would now like to study art if I can. So we were in Karachi. My father had retired, and so there was the Arts Council at that time, and Mr. Ali Imam, who was a great art historian, an artist, fantastic teacher, and he was the principal of the Arts Council, Central Institute of Arts and Crafts, and I joined there, and I've never regretted it. And he really encouraged me, and he found that there's sensitivity in my hand, and therefore he encouraged me, and he noticed I use a lot of color. And some of the other students didn't really, they didn't have the confidence to use splashes of color. So he said, look, I like that, carry on with that. Why do you use so much color? So I said, look, for me, color means brightness, color means happiness. The color red, for me, is not blood, for me, it's something which brings you out of, it's just a beautiful color. I mean, all colors I've found are very beautiful. And if you merge them together, then they create a canvas of their own. So that is what.
And you lived your childhood in different countries like Bangkok and
yes.
African, Sierra Leone, and then in Rome. How did it add value in your work and your exposure with different societies, your imagination and all that?
I suppose one didn't realize it, but when you see, for example, in Thailand, there was the their dance is so different from ours. The movements are very slow and very, very rhythmic. And their paintings. And then when we went to Africa, there again there's the African art. I mean, a great artist like Picasso also got so influenced by African art.
And Van Gogh and...
Van Gogh, lot of the artists, yes, got very inspired and influenced, in fact, by African art. And so there I was exposed to all that, and we were there for almost 2 years. So it was quite an experience to be amongst them. I mean, at that time I didn't ever think I'd become an artist or I'd paint professionally, you know. But I think without realizing it, one absorbs things as you grow up.
Yeah.
So I must have absorbed all that. And then Italy, of course, was...
Yeah. So there are not many institutions in Pakistan who teach like visual arts. There's one in Lahore.
Very famous.
Famous, yeah, of course. Then some in Karachi.
Yes.
So how do you find the environment of these art schools?
I think they are very good. Very, very good. The students are given a lot of freedom to do what they want, how they want to express themselves. They are taught how to do it, but at the same time they are allowed to practice or show their art in their own way. And that's what I found even in later when I went to study at the Slade. Again, it was the same. In fact, it was even more free.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the difference between Slade School, which you went later on, and Pakistani in terms of critical thinking, flow of imagination, free flow of imagination,
Yes.
and experimentation?
At the Slade, you know, if there's a model sitting there and you're drawing her or him, and very often they were nude models, you could do anything you wanted. You know, you could just change the color of their hair or their features or their skin color, whatever or you could make it totally abstract because that's what you saw. So they gave you that freedom. Whereas in Pakistan, maybe because they were teaching you, so they wanted you to make it more realistic, to what you saw, not what you imagined. But it was a good experience abroad where I learned how to paint or draw. You see, for example, what I saw, not what everyone else saw,
Yeah.
but what I saw.
Yeah, yeah.
See, so that was something huge. Now here also, because I was in the art institutes many, many years ago, but now that freedom is there even in Pakistan.
Well, you just told me that in Slades you were more encouraged to paint as you see the object rather than...
That is true.
And your paintings also show
Yes.
your internal moods while at the time when you are painting.
See, that there's like, especially when I was studying abroad, they gave you the freedom to, there's this thing like the way I see it is what you actually see. And the way I see it is what I interpret what I see and do what I want. And, you know, I mean, I might see a human figure, I might turn it into a horse. You know, I mean, I'm just saying that, but you know, so that's how I see it. So that was something which really gave me so much freedom. I said, oh my God, this is fantastic. And so now also my paintings are what I see, what I want to show, and what I feel. And in my paintings, for example, if you take this painting, it's live and let live. Now, live and let live. When you look at it, you can interpret it the way you want. But in a way, it is quite obvious. You see, there's a mosque, there's a church, there's a mandir, there's a synagogue, there are high-rise buildings, there are temples, Buddhist temples, there's mud huts. There's all religions, all of humanity, all together in one canvas. So in other words, if you look out of a window and if you were to see a beautiful world where everybody is existing, coexisting, living in peace and harmony, that's my dream of a beautiful world. And therefore, in my own little subtle way, I make paintings of buildings in that way. Then most of my paintings are optimistic. Of my paintings was and has been and is hope, and never lose hope. I mean, you know, for example, this is a painting which is a very new painting of mine. It's K2, it's just called K2. But it's, there's a lot going on in the sense that, you know, there are people struggling to go up the mountain. And there's the Markhor, which is very much a Pakistani, in K2 you get them. And right on top is the figure of a woman. And she's got a flag. It could be from anywhere. It happens to be green, so it could be Pakistan. But the main thing that it's a girl, it's a woman who has reached the height of the highest mountain, amongst the highest mountains.
One of the highest ones.
So in other words, there again, it's again about hope and about reaching your goal and being able to exist in this world and be a somebody.
This painting also reminds me that a woman is there, that gender relations is also a permanent theme of your work. Mm-hmm. You have worked a lot on, most of your paintings are figures of women,
yes,
and mostly urban women. So it was a conscious choice to use
yes,
this motif?
I consciously use women. Sometimes I have men, but mostly women. And I, you know, I concentrate on their lips, yeah, I concentrate on their eyes, and you see, you might think of it as being unhappy, you might think of it as being happy, but it is actually determined to be who they are or who they can be, and very often not allowed to be, especially in societies like ours where women are, you know, I mean, like in the villages, for example, they can't even step out of their homes at times, you know.
Well, in villages they can, maybe, but...
No, they're very, very strict about women going out on their own and things. So these are women who are dreaming, who are, I have symbols, I have the bird, I have fish, I have beautiful blue skies, and I have the buildings, and all these show that you can be happy, you can do things, you can survive.
You can reach on the top of K2 as well.
Yeah, you can reach the highest mountain. Yes.
Okay, and all these women figures, they have elongated necks.
That is just, the elongated neck doesn't mean anything, it's just a style. There are very famous artists like Modigliani who used to make women with long necks, and there are many artists who do that. I find it very graceful, and then my paintings are not realistic. They could be abstract or they're semi-abstract, so therefore I can take advantage of like I make a young girl with white hair. Now most young girls don't have white hair, but I like it and I find it interesting, so I do that. I can you know, when you're painting, you can do what you want. And that is what
You're a
is
real
so-
creator at that time.
Yeah, you create, you do as you wish. I mean, there's another painting of mine, which is here, but I don't think it can be seen. Maybe they can show it later. It's a woman deep inside the ocean with her hair flowing, you know, and she's one with the fish. She's, you know, like, again, why fish? Because again, there's that freedom, there's that what fish can do what they want. They're not judged by other fish, you know.
Yeah.
So, so that sort of thing I portray in my own little way. I want to do things like that. Many, many years ago, there was this very famous Pakistani famous lawyer, Rashida Patel.
Yeah.
And she had asked me that, look, please, can you make some paintings of women who have been, acid has been thrown on their face, or they've been burnt by men, or they've been killed for whatever reason and things. So because we'll put them in the police thanas are police stations.
Yes.
And so it's visual. You see, there in the rural areas, most of the men and women, a lot of them are not educated. So if they see something like that, even the man could feel a bit upset that, look, this is what's happening here, and maybe we should stop all that, you know. So in English and in Urdu, mostly in Urdu, we would write that, you know, stop this.
I think that's, I have seen those posters in
Yeah,
this book. Yeah.
I just put one over
I think
here.
it was for Government of Sindh you made.
The government of Sindh had asked me to do these, but I'd done many. They put them in all the rural areas of Sindh, of the police stations in Sindh. And I hope it had a slight impact anyway, if not a huge one, but a slight impact.
But it should have been in Sindhi language as well.
They might have done that. They did that in Sindhi language as well. Yes. So Urdu, Sindhi, little bit of English, and yes, actually didn't even have to put anything. You could see what's happening.
Yeah, because they cannot read, so it's good to give them a visual message.
That's why they wanted it.
You work in all three mediums, like oil and water and acrylic.
I work mostly in acrylic and in oil, a little bit in watercolors.
Some special reason for that?
Yes, I find there's more freedom in acrylic and in oils. And then you can get it, you can get more texture. In watercolors, that, you know, you can create texture by looking at it, but not actually feeling the texture, you know. Whereas in these, you can make it thicker, the paint, you can make it less, you can work with a palette knife, because a lot of my paintings are done with palette knives. And so I like doing that, I love doing that. And I then create a lot of bold textures, and in some places it's very soft. It depends on the painting, depends on my mood.
So who are the painters you like most, both in Pakistan and globally?
In Pakistan, I mean, our greatest painter, I feel, is Sadiq Khan, Mr. Sadiq Khan. He was exceptional, and he did various types of paintings. They are all his style. You could tell at once that Sadiq Khan, but the subject matters were different. And I mean, I in fact was lucky to know him and spend time with him, and he was somebody just absolutely, I would get spellbound when I was seeing him and talking to him. And he was a very simple man, but what he painted was not so simple, because it was something, there was a lot in each painting of his.
His lines were just fascinating.
Fascinating lines. You know, it's funny, he showed me his fingers, and it was like this. he couldn't straighten his fingers. So I said, how come? And it was something like Allah, you know, because he used to do a lot of calligraphy, and because of that, you know, you keep your fingers like this to make the calligraphic paintings. So his fingers actually became like that, which was very interesting. I said, you can't straighten them? So he said, no, I can't. I said, oh wow, that is something so interesting. And then I knew a lot of the other artists. I was a young girl, and quite a number of them were older than I was. Not that I'm young anymore, but they were quite a bit older. And I used to sit with them as a young girl and see how they paint, ask them why and what, and you know, and it was just fascinating seeing them all, and Imam Saab especially. And now there's a contemporary of mine, Jimmy Engineer.
Yeah.
He does a lot of social work.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I think once he walked from Karachi to Lahore sometime.
yes,
Yeah.
miles and miles and miles, you know, yes. And the villagers of the different places he went to would find out that he's going to now be here in maybe 3 hours, and they'd be waiting in the streets for him to pass by. And he would do a lot of charity work. And then, of course, there's so many wonderful Pakistani artists, and now the younger artists who are abstract artists and are absolutely fantastic artists. Rashid, Rana, etc. Yes.
I was reading reviews about your work, and I couldn't make out what could be a final comment on the work, because some of the reviewers, art critics, said that you were heavily influenced by Chughtai. Someone found expressionism in your work. Someone discovered impressionism in your work, symbols, colors. So what you would like to tell us? And I also read one of your interviews to a journalist that you don't believe in any isms. You paint as you feel like.
Yes.
I'll come to that later, but how would you describe your painting styles, and if you like?
Yes, well, my style is more expressionistic. And
For our
if
viewers,
talking about isms, it's, I've been told it's Fauvist, so there's Fauvism. And then I try not to get too influenced by any one artist, because then I, you know, without consciously doing so, you might start copying or imitating or making paintings like that particular artist whom you admire. So I, even if I'm reading about artists, I read about their work, I look at their paintings, but I try not to make paintings in their particular style. Now, so there may be a blend of different artists' works in my art, but all done unconsciously, because that's what life is, and that's what one does, you know, yes.
And you also combined a book of poetry and paintings with your friend Biozafar. How was that experience?
Yes, that happened by chance. There's this lady called Biozafar, and she and I have known each other since we were very young. So she told me that, you know, come and read some of my poems, you know. And I said, sure. So I was reading her poems, and I said, oh my God, you know, Beo, your poems are saying in words what I say on paint or in drawing. And it's very fascinating. So we got very excited, and we would see a painting, and then she would look at one of her poems, and they said the same thing. And then she would take out a poem, and I would take out a painting, and we just got so interested, excited, and it's wonderful to have been able to do that. So then we decided that let's bring out a book. Now, this book came later, and I mean, that one is poems and paintings, or the paintings and poems, you know, and all saying the same thing. But later, the foundation of the Museum of Modern Art, which is FAMA, and Jalal Saab, Mr. Jalaluddin Ahmad, he was the founder, the main person in that. He approached me, and I was very honored that he did, and he said that, look, we like your work, and we'd like to publish a book of your art. And then they asked Marjorie Hussain, who was our top art historian and writer, and amongst the top, and she'd written many books on many of the very well-known artists. So I was very humbled and very honored. I said, yes, wonderful. And so Marjorie would come and she would interview me, and she would see my work, and she would ask me questions and everything. And it was about my art, but also a bit about me as a person, or as who I am today. And so then they brought out this book. It was by Marjorie Hussain, and the foreword was by Taimur Suri, and he is he studied art in at Oxford University, and he was teaching art in at the Indus Valley School in Karachi. And then there's Niloufar Farooq, who is very well known.
She interviewed you as well, I've seen.
Yes, she did. And she is the CEO of the Biennale in Karachi. And they have a wonderful show every year. And one of the years, I think when they had just started, they asked painters from various parts of Sindh, and a lot of them were from Karachi, and they asked me as well, and we made a huge painting which would remain in wherever it was, outdoors, indoors, mostly outdoors, and for a year, 2 years, as long as it lasts outside. So that was a very interesting thing, yes. So, and then they hold a lot of talks on different art-related subjects and artists, etc. And in fact, they even had a talk with, there was Nahid Razan, there was Noorjahan Bilgrami, Meher Afroz, there was me, and there were one or two others, you know. So we were talking about Imam Ali, Mr. Ali Imam, and his art, and you know, that was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, you, regarding your book, which was combination of poetry and paintings, you consulted Khushwant Singh as well for his opinion, and he very generously gave his opinion about your work. And he says that Tabinda's work is bold, vibrant, and imaginative, as he expresses stark emotions, hallucinations, and dreams in brilliant and intense colors. So I like Khushwant Singh as a writer and a humanist. Yes. So I would like to hear from you, what was your interaction with him, and anything you would like to share with our viewers about him.
He was a great writer. He was...
as a human being, when you
As
met.
a human being, he had a great sense of humor. He was who he was. He didn't care what society or people thought of him, because he'd sometimes come up with the most outrageous things he would say, and you know, it was all accepted because he was what he was, and he was a fantastic writer. So that was Khushwant Singh, and then there was Bapsi Sidhwa, who also wrote about my work. She is again a writer, a novelist, and but she loved my work, so you know, so I said, why not, you know, And of course, other art critics have written about me, and
And then you switched to sculpting. I mean, you added
I
to
didn't
sculpting.
switch to it. I was studying sculpture as well at the Arts Council, and I had a very good art sculpture teacher. And then later at Slade, I studied sculpture more than painting, and that was quite an experience. So I paint and I sculpt. I do both. I paint more than sculpt because it's, well, I mean, I don't have a kiln at home, so I have to go somewhere to sculpt. Yeah. I make the forms, but then I have to go somewhere.
But I guess you travel a lot. You spend your time between 3 countries, Pakistan, Kuala Lumpur, and another country.
Spend my time more in Pakistan and in America, but I live in Pakistan, in Karachi. That's where my home is. My daughters are in America, New York. So I go there and visit them. I sometimes even go for 3 months. But I don't live there, yes.
But isn't it difficult to, continue painting or sculpting when you're traveling, because it needs a lot of other things, place, your materials, yeah.
It is difficult, but if I go for a long time, then it's not that difficult in the sense that one of my daughters, she has a basement, but with a lot of light. And so I leave my paints there. They're all, all the paints are laid out, because I can't every day remove everything and then put it back again, because then maybe I won't even paint that much. So therefore I asked her, and she said, absolutely, Mom, me, that please leave the paints there because it's in the basement. And so I paint there as well, not as much as I would like to, but I do dabble in paint.
Yeah, but sculpting would be difficult in that.
No, I don't sculpt when I'm abroad. And I do that in Pakistan, in Karachi. And I've made a lot of different sculpture pieces in bronze, in mixed metals, terracotta, plaster of Paris, and I sometimes, like, if I make a piece in terracotta, and then you can convert it into a metal if you wish to. Sometimes so beautiful in terracotta itself that I like to leave it, and it's got that raw feeling, and it's there's just for me, in sculpting, I prefer to create from scratch. I don't work on wood. I've done 1 or 2 pieces in marble, but what I enjoy most is having nothing there, and then I make something. Whereas if there's a piece of wood, you cut, and then you create. Marble, you cut and create. With mud, with terracotta, with this, there's nothing, and then you create what you want and how you want. And so I prefer that.
So how did you create this balance in your multitasking? You cared for your family, your children, and then sculpting and painting, traveling, all that.
Yes, there were a few years recently when I couldn't, for personal reasons. There were reasons why I just couldn't, I wasn't able to, so I didn't. But when now I'm at a better stage, so those few years, thank God, God has been kind, those few years have passed. And so now I'm back again, and hopefully I shall carry on. And therefore, over the time, I created a lot of these paintings. There are 2, 3 of them which are the old ones, but most of them are new. And yeah, so we take it from here, and I hopefully never stop now till I can carry on painting or sculpting.
And how about your exhibitions? There have been, I think, many in Pakistan and abroad. How were your paintings received?
I've had exhibitions in Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad in the past as well. And I've also had group shows, solo shows, and I've had them in different countries, in many different countries, yes, in America, in New York, and in London,
In Delhi as well.
yes, and the Far East, etc. And a lot of my paintings have gone in auctions. So, oh yes, and I've also done some live paintings, on canvas with people around, and then they've bid for it. And yeah, so that was also a bit, you sort of, you have people standing over there, and you've got the paint, you've got the canvas, and then you create, and it has to be really quick. And so I've done a few of those, and it's been very exciting doing it. Yes, and in fact, at one of my book launches, this was in Karachi, at the IVS. There after the book launch, there was Amina Sayyed speaking about the book, and Jalal Saab, and Marjorie Hussain, etc. And suddenly they announced that the lights are going to go off, and we purposely going to do that. So everybody wondered why, and so the lights went off, and suddenly there was soft music, and these two figures, very tall figures in white and with a hood on their head, they walked up and they came to the stage. And in the meantime, everybody was concentrating on them. So these people had put some paints, and the lights came on, and the music became faster. I painted on their clothes, on their gowns, white gowns. And then when they removed the hood, it was Amin Gulji. Everybody started clapping, oh my God, Amin Gulji. And the other one was Nadia Hussain. She's one of our top models, and Amin Gulji, of course, everybody knows. He's our famous sculptor and the son of Mr. Gulji, who was our most famous artist. So that was good fun. They enjoyed it, I enjoyed it, the audience hopefully enjoyed it.
So Tabinda, we are surrounded by so many beautiful paintings of yours.
Thank you.
So can you just give us a tour of your exhibition?
There's this woman, and she's in her sitting room, and she's lying on her couch and thinking what life can be and what she would like from life. And there's a painting of Sadiq Khan, because I just wanted to put a painting there just to show that it is, she's inside. And then there's the window at the back, and through the window, the first thing she sees is this bird, which looks larger than life, but it is like that because it's closer to her, and it's just flying, it's free. There are other birds which are also flying, they're far away. So for me, birds, it's a symbol. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything, but for me it is freedom. Showing freedom, showing what, if you have a talent, you should be allowed to show that talent. So that's what I like to portray. That's what I want to say through my paintings.
Beautiful.
Yeah. This one is very rough, and it is done with very strong strokes and a lot of pigmentation. And I mean, there's just that one bird. But again, it's the same thing. I mean, you know, she's got a slight smile in her lips, and she's again determined, as you can see. And in this, I've just shown her coming out of the darkness. It's dark, but there's a little bit of light. And then you come forward, and there's more light. And then there's that smile, and the, you know, she's coming out of the darkness. And that's what it is. I've just given it a very simple name, white bird. So white bird is the symbol of the
I think most of the birds in your paintings are white.
No, not all. I mean, I've got yellow bird, etc., red bird. I mean, the color doesn't matter. It's the bird itself. And then
Its ability to fly.
To be what it is, not to be judgmental, to be with the other birds, or be on its own, etc. I think I mentioned this one before, but it's a very interesting, fun painting, and that is the one with the woman. She's one with the fish. Now the fish again, I mean...
It's oneness you have tried to show.
Yes, that she is...
part of nature, environment, surroundings.
Yes, and like the fish, like the bird. That's what she'd like to be, and that's what she has aspired to be, and that's what she is in this painting. And
she can swim across boundaries, and
yes,
there are no restrictions on her movement.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. Great, wonderful work. So it's just fascinating. I'm much impressed by your work.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me a tour of your paintings. But let's sit again and continue our discussion. I have some more questions to ask.
Absolutely, let's do that.
You had a long journey. I mean, you started learning your paintings first in Arts Council of Pakistan, then Institute, and then later you went to London for further training. How do you think is current state of affairs in Pakistan regarding art teaching, environment, and what are the challenges of young students, and what are contemporary trends in art scene in Pakistan?
I think people in Pakistan, especially the very young people, are becoming more and more and more interested in art, and producing some fabulous work. And like, for example, even in the prisons over here, they encourage the prisoners, if they want to paint.
They should have dreams.
And yes, and they've produced some fabulous paintings. So that's one thing. Then a lot of the charitable institutions, or ones with special children, you know, they also encourage them to paint. And so that also gives them, and if they're appreciated, and some of them produce some very nice work. So there again, there's that trend, or that thing that has come in to Pakistan, which was not there many, many years ago. And then there's many art institutions in the big cities, art schools in the smaller towns in Pakistan. So it's all over the world, all over Pakistan, and then they are encouraged to have exhibitions in the bigger cities. And some of them, you'd be surprised, you know, a lot of them haven't had formal education in art, but they've produced some fabulous work. So it is so wonderful to see that. And then I find that more and more people, even in the very remote areas, they have started putting up paintings or drawings or calendars with landscapes. You know, if they can't afford a painting, because they can't really afford a painting, or they'll have a cutting from some newspaper or from magazine, and they put that up in their walls. So they're becoming more aware.
So there is a hope.
Yes, and there are some very, very famous, very great artists that have come up before and now, and they're in the top museums of the world, and some of them are in the top museums in the permanent collections. And there are artists, Pakistani artists who live abroad, who are also very famous, very well known, and I think it's no matter what is happening sometimes in our country, but art is flourishing.
Well, with this hopeful note, our time for our show is up. And thank you very much for being with us today. And I think it was a wonderful conversation with you. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. So did I. And thank you for having me on your show. And looking forward to seeing myself. And I hope our youth and us and the people of Pakistan never lose hope, no matter what happens. And that is what is going to give us the courage to carry on.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, yes.
So viewers, thank you for watching us. See you next Sunday, same time.